Hi, this is Fix My Fibro and my name's Bernadette. This video you're probably not going to like too much because I'm going to talk about coffee and tea. And we as a society are big coffee drinkers, caffeine, and have cups of tea. It's just like a social thing. You wake up in the morning, you have a tea or a coffee, you get your caffeine hit, or you have cups of tea. But they are problematic in fibromyalgia for multiple reasons. One, coffee or caffeine is, as a molecule, a purine molecule in its chemical structure. So because we have this purine metabolic disorder, caffeine will give you a reaction of your gouty pain, and it's also a histamine. So caffeine is a real double whammy. Caffeine is a histamine also. And so you will get both a histamine and a purine metabolic reaction in your body where you can't process that caffeine. I used to drink coffee really early on in the piece, or I'd go to a cafe and I'd say, oh, can you make a really super weak coffee? Like once you've already run the coffee through the machine for someone else, just run some more water through it. So it's got a little bit of a caffeine-y taste, and I'll put some milk in it and I'll drink it. But I gave it up. Oh, it didn't take long, a couple of months. And because I would get severe pain in my right kidney after I would have caffeine in the form of coffee. Teas, also black teas, all of your black teas, your English breakfasts, your oolongs, all your general teas are also high purine. And purines are manufactured in a lot of plant products, basically when you have a fast-growing plant. So teas are the tip of the plant, the small little leaves is what gives them really fragrant flavours, but they're all high purine. That's where the purine content comes from in teas. And all of those teas will also give you a reaction. A lot of those teas, black teas, are also high histamine. So coffee and tea is a real problem in fibromyalgia. And that is because we have this, it's been shown that a lot of fibromyalgics have this lower DAO enzyme, which is diamine oxidase enzyme, that processes histamines. And because our levels are so low, just a coffee, tea, or any other histamines in your diet or purines in your diet will cause a severe reaction. So you really have to give them up, I'm sorry. Teas like green tea is actually a deaminase oxidase enzyme blocker. So you might think, I'm having a green tea, it's okay. It's actually going to block any enzyme activity you've got, and it's been shown that we have really low enzyme activity of the DAO enzyme. So having a green tea doesn't actually help. So when you go to a cafe, the only tea that I drink is chamomile. It's low histamine, it's low purine, and it's actually a histamine. It naturally is like an antihistamine, chamomile. You might not like chamomile tea. I'm really sorry. Then don't drink it. Have some low-fat skinny milk, heat it up. You can put a little bit of a spoon of chocolate in it. Chocolate actually is a high purine, unfortunately. Theobromine is one of the highest purine concentrations. But a little teaspoon. I will occasionally have a skim milk hot chocolate at night sometimes. I know it's a little bit of purines, but the way both your histamine and your purine intolerance kind of works, if you want to call it a purine intolerance or a purine inability to process, is there are thresholds in your body. And if you imagine a threshold is a fence, we all have houses with fences around them, or some of us do, and the top of the fence is your threshold. So this is why people who do have gout and eat a low purine diet sometimes say, oh, I ate that food and it didn't give me a gout attack, but then a few weeks later I had severe gout attacks. And it's almost like if this is the level of your fence, and your purine levels, if you're monitoring your purines and they're low, but suddenly you have more purines, suddenly your purine level in your bloods and your histamine level goes over that threshold where you can't process them, and that's when you get the symptoms. So it's about reducing your total purine load. All meats, for instance, contain purines, but you still have to eat some meat. You can't eat beans because beans are a high histamine. You still need to have protein in your diet. I only eat meat once a day. Like if I'm going to have a piece of chicken or a low histamine fish or what's another meat I eat chicken, fish, occasionally have some red meat, but that's another story. We'll go into that in a bit more detail. But I will only have a moderate piece of meat, enough to have enough protein for my body to make all of its enzymes, because you need those amino acids, which is what are the building blocks of proteins, to manufacture all your enzymes in your body and to function normally. You don't want to become malnourished because your purine levels are really low. Eggs, for instance, you can eat. I don't have any reaction to cooked eggs. Raw eggs, though, the egg white is known as what's called a histamine liberator. So eggs, for instance, will, if you eat them raw, like in a smoothie or something like that, what they do is they kind of heighten your system to histamines so that you can you'll get itchiness, and it will end up causing some release of histamines because they liberate histamines in the body. So there are foods, if you look them up online, called histamine liberators, and you just have to monitor those and not overdo them in your daily diet. I'll cover diet a lot more because it's really frustrating when you first get sick or when you first get told these things. You go, well, what do I eat then? Well, there's lots of things you can eat, but you need to learn what foods you need to avoid. And coffee and tea, unfortunately, are a really massive problem. It's going to be really hard to adjust to that, but you just need to find alternatives or find things that you can have that aren't going to set off your symptoms. That is why coffee is a really bad thing to have as a pick-me-up. When we're so fatigued, it's the first thing you go and grab. Oh, I need a coffee for some energy. I need an energy drink for some energy. You are overloading your body with 1 cup of coffee with with purines from the caffeine and histamines. And if you use high-fat milk in it, there's another histamine hit that's elevating it, adding histamines into your body when your enzymes are too low, or the particular enzyme to process histamines, diamine oxidase, you can't actually process it effectively. So I'm sorry to give you that news. I know this was going to be a really sad video for you to watch and really frustrating, but it really is important. Try go off your caffeine and your teas. One of my friends, just quickly, as an adjunct, has histamine intolerance independently. She doesn't have fibromyalgia, but she has severe histamine intolerance as a separate disease. And histamine intolerance, she has in her whole life, she only has a decaffeinated black tea. She can manage a few cups of that or a cup of that in her day without setting off her histamine reactions, because the caffeine is a histamine in that black tea. But if she makes a relatively weak tea with some skim milk, she can drink that tea without setting off histamine symptoms in her body. So thanks, Marie. That's insight from your histamine intolerance. And that is really what you need to think about. Decaffeinated coffees aren't the answer. I tried all of those, but beans are a histamine as well. And it never, for me, caffeine was just a no-no. And it really causes severe symptoms, unfortunately.